Pachomont Nasi. Me de radio so ni na ba beka ye ho asomdwemu. Aha no mo se asomdwemu. Ye wo health week mo which starts today. And then there was special person na Mr. Idinde Mr. Joe Opon Beidu. Ye NP ba kwa owe yimu. And then oni ebefa diabetes prevention and management. Ti me sure mo ma enya aso na yentie no. Mr. Joe Beidu. Pacho bitimi. Abe start ya mine.
Pacho, mikasa muti. And sure what I say o me, unwa. Me start. Okay. The yamiasi say ohwe so na wotwe munia na omienti atinka boni bia. Say diabetes area aka ho asem or ha pain bebre. Na enam say yare egusu edi ewu onu nti no. Ho akohia say ebetimu bio. Say cancer diabetes diabetes a chronic disease. Yare bia a chronic no. Say aba setna. Onu medro baako nti say uti o ya no anu medro baako na ama etia no eko. Na itie mu ane say obinya diabetes nipadua no ho no ehia sichire o emojem na yesan hia bi e wo ebiduem which is our cells no. Na obinya diabetes mpempie no ya na sichire a e wo ne mojem no dawson abroso bebre. Instead of saying ka bebre na be call cells na providing with energy na bebre wo I can't say the veins no. Na normal bebre na timide diabetes ba. Yewo ahodo type bebre me kan ho asem and ana mesa ka ekwan a bit my boy ho ban ni enya diabetes. They prevent complications from happening. Diabetes yo ma hodo bebre yewo type 1. Type 1 no oni beka say autoimmune disease. Wow, we nipadua no and attack ne ho. What happens with type 1 diabetes is say immune system no attack o pancreas no. Pancreas no ho and they produce insulin. It affect pancreatic cells na it damage no na faint and produce insulin bio. So who did ya na esichire who did ya na sugar no cholesterol aduan bia obedi bia no. You find say may you see doctor a lot because in product no fa. You find say we the doctor na a spike with sugar. What your body does is say it release insulin na ama sugar level no aba form. Obi all type 1 diabetes the body no produce insulin bia. Anything na need ba ko sans so the insulin dependent because we nyanya type 1 na insulin now be here or for the rest of your life unless you say I don't know if it's me a pancreatic cancer transplant unless you get something like that. Other than that, can be I'll be here insulin. Ana yɛwɔ pre-diabetes. Pre-diabetes, unyenya diabetes, but fancy or borderline. Yeah, I remember who say pre-diabetes, and bit my lab BFN no hemoglobin A1C. A1C, say we number between 5.7 and 6.4. You are considered as pre-diabetic, which means that with the borderline pa. So why you're careful with me and your type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, so before I finish with type 1, 10%, between 5 to 10% of NIPA or more diabetes, and about 5 to 10% depending on what type 1 diabetes, which means NIPA do na over 90% of NIPA or more diabetes, or more type 2. The sad part is that type 2, in most cases, can be prevented, and I said can be reversed. We'll talk about that. With type 2, insulin, we call insulin resistant. Insulin is not working the way it's supposed to work. Until so sugar no spike cry na, and I'm saying insulin is not working adequately, Say la my sugar a basro. And your back your friend of gestational diabetes. And pempi man you hospital between 24 weeks to 28 weeks now your more test I heard some more gestational diabetes. The problem with gestational diabetes is that sewunya one uwa akulano yemwa bofana akulano can be diabetic. 2, your risks of developing type 2 diabetes are very high. Research actually say about nipa omo ayi mba omunya type 2 diabetes, emu 50% within 5 years of our obenya diabetes, type 2 diabetes. This is obenya gestational diabetes also when who you because the risk is there. I mean, call back. But then obenya diabetes. There are so many causes. Medical can I explain the pathophysiology part, but lifestyle. Say Bronica be sedentary lifestyle. Say we will be when you're very active. And I say what Juma or no crown. International Dawson be our office job or Juma or tenancy 8 hours. Obefia, atena kema drive, obefi, oba didi we no atena kunyem, no ahwe TV, no akoda. Every day, you are not moving. The more you move, it will reduce. I'll talk about exercise, how exercise may reduce diabetes. The more you move, a bit me, and that's all your exercise, and a bit may reduce your risk of diabetes. Genetics. Diabetes say Arabian swa a running war abusiamu pa. Say umami or diabetes you have a 4% chance so when you diabetes. Over 4% chance of when you diabetes. O papa or diabetes is 6%. You know diabetes the risks of when you diabetes in here over 10%. The fact that you said the risks how doesn't mean that you're going to get it. You can do things about it. Obi also now for some reason when you the pancreas and yare aba ho na yeyi the pancreas and also automatically you pancreas pe ubenya diabetes. You will know bebre ho a and also to me cause diabetes emra wo take say no pain pii say ujai say no mo a diabetes it may reverse. Steroids bebre ho a you do to steroids so as a period I will take steroid it may shoot you up with sugar pa. Beta blockers, antipsychotic medications, especially Zyprexa, or be taking Zyprexa, the risks of developing diabetes in here super high. Anna carbohydrate, it may cause diabetes. The way we eat, even the order in which we eat, can affect our sugar level. For example, we do morning salad and a chicken. So we did salad in the first. Now we chicken on second. Now we do mono last. My share video, papa bi wo Facebook am hwe video or diabetes na or you su insulin diabetic defense cry. No, they're checking the sugar man. No, I forgot the name. CGM or you should be until the we are now I research why experiment and say order no did no it's me affect how high and sugar beko. Aduane obedi. For example, otimi di pan on kwa by itself. The same size of pan no I say the pan no the nkatia yim and that's what the butter yim. Because I don't know contain fat and protein into and spiking the sugar and high. And the way you eat, obo ane ne say yepe o. Mo risk ni na yepe. But then odidia the sugar and spike is so high to say another person. And also what you drink. I will emphasize on this. Do not drink your sugar. Because udi aduane bia carbohydrates bia and end product no be sugar. But don't drink sugar by itself. What I mean by that is drinking pop, soda, juices. Even fruits. Let me talk about fruit. Before, fruit is good for us. Yes, fruit is very good. I'll talk about it later. But the type of fruit that you eat, when you eat it, can even cause problems for you. So, Woody, Kwadu, na abribebrea, the glycemic index near very high. Watermelon has a high glycemic index. Date has a very high glycemic index. The berries are better. Strawberry, cherries, raspberry, and glycemic index is very high. And quantity of aduana yedi. Sometimes, utnasia aduane quantity na obedi no. And also, it might cause diabetes. So, would the in moderation it will not cause that. Now, you better who say obi diabetes. Because which la ida say between moja na say memwajun so. Twin majun so no mo the collab na ketones o ma. Ketones no say we are positive for ketones say almost when you diabetes. If you say your body is not using sugar no, it's using fat. You break down on fat and ketones no to provide you with energy. And different kinds of blood glucose monitoring. Your fasting blood sugar, normal, which means when you did the whole night, and I know papa, I check your sugar. We check it has to be less than 100. We are pre-diabetic, between 100 and 125. Now, me per channel pa, you better check your sugar or just to let everybody know. So, uba now make sure say uba in the so be a diabetes number in the your random one say fine say what did we at randomly you check your sugar near more than 200. That doesn't mean say you have diabetes. When you are having symptoms with number na I'm going to be talking about the symptoms too. And the best way to test will be for diabetes, you'll be checking the hemoglobin A1C. And no gives an average of your sugar for between 2 to 3 months. If it's less than 5.7 normal, we are pre-diabetic between 5.7 to 6.4. These are numbers that I'm encouraging say, eso bia ho ni de. Uhu a ama wo ye ahweye na ade be ya fa ho se be ya wo nya diabetes no. Wa ya fa ho. Ebi say umpese obetra honom na one day when we ba ho so na ho diabetes. Area and starting one day, starting kakra over the years now ye didi a ye use pancreas ne saa no. Pancreas ne yemre. Be kakra ne ntimi produce bio. There's another one, glucose tolerance test. I know you're tired yet, ma omo. Now, Obi Biden who say, oh yeah, at risk for diabetes. I've already talked about say, so my many papa, or diabetes are the risks no. See, the diabetes running over family more, the risk is very high. Say when you are overweight, and I say when you are very obese, and also risks are very high. The amount being somebody can be overweight, but not the risks near high. This is how. Obuha or super, but a lot of muscles or need fat be brave, especially when lifting weight, or a very bulky person, but a lot of muscles, but less fat. The more fat cells that you have, the higher your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. This is how. Fat cells, prevent the insulin from traveling from your cells, from the bloodstream into your cells. So it stays in your bloodstream. Now, my sugar now high. Once again, fat cells, prevent insulin from moving the sugar in your blood vessels into your cells. Into pain pee, I no more type 2 diabetes, I na be brave. Overweight pa. Medical talking about physical inactivity. Once again, so what Juma require that you sit down a lot. Make an effort to move. So when you break a cry 30 minutes now, the baby walk here, and that's our point, Juma no. Obey some form of exercise very, very good. There's another way to me which I've watched videos and for Obi how did we I know I take it walk by 30 minutes. And I said so obey exercise. No I exercise, Sa period now we exercise, your cells a boama sugar no free or blood vessels now call cells now cells use as energy. It is very important. The best way to control your sugar levels, sugar spike here, right after eating, you exercise. Just the one who debate me, just walking. Or say wait cry I bet my left for 10-20 minutes cry. Unhealthy diet. You're making sure say we eat a balanced diet. Bake it, don't fry it. Because the more I will fry, now the more fat it can, now the calories will break down. The chicken take off the skin and bake it. Soda, I'm talking about soda. Don't drink your sugar, eat them. This is very important. Say obi or hypertension, no high cholesterol, so risk is there for diabetes. Because how money we call it metabolic syndrome. They go hand in hand. Age of 45, pain develop type 2 diabetes at when they are in their middle age going. Because that time you've overworked the pancreas. That is the time I'm brain, so I'm putting on a lot of weight. History of gestational diabetes also increase the risk of diabetes. I've already talked about that. Fortunately, before, very high risk for diabetes. Out of the reason high risk for diabetes here, the way we eat. See, it may change the way we eat a very reduced risk. Asia, Hispanics in Asia for Abrafo level near lower. Me research, before the year 13%, Abrafo the year 6, Hispanic year 11%. Oh, see, we are up there, but something can be done about it. Sure. Now, over there, who crash when you have diabetes? In pain, you're going to have some symptoms. Some tentam. Then fancy you consume the same amount of water. But what I realize is yeah, I'm about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, no just about 5 times. You keep paying all the time. And I'm a roommate we college. The man who say when you diabetes in no year. Ojunso no who say Junso no ede like as a room. Or test na when you diabetes. Ono na a run on the family mu. Ojunso no so na so come o de tentem. Under normal circumstance, by 12 o'clock, no one 2 bottles of water. Maybe I want to bear 4. I would do some tentem. That is a sign. Come also deal with tentem pa because we cells, sugar na can be provided with cells, with energy, they are all in your bloodstream. Your cells they are craving for sugar. It's a come deal with tentem. Paping so we also are ODD and so still are and so tea. And no can be a sign. Bread, tentem, vision. Adia ultimately read the Abeka kana person read the Adia very blurry. That can be a sign. Crew tour in Wuda. I need to spend more time on the crew tour, party now. Say, when will be all diabetes? For. If you cry now, they encourage you to say, "Bia, she socks and shampoo all the time while she walking around." Na bibian one name. If you say so, when you diabetes in the crew, I just say, the crew. I talk Rama Pempem. And Nebekuno. Nipa no. About 80% of them were diabetes. The reason why I have diabetes are chronic wood and here. Sugar level over the years, it damages your cells. It damages your nerves. That's not damaging blood vessels, It weakens your immune system. So when that happens, there's poor circulation of oxygen to the wound area, Until if you are not getting that, chronic in Wuda. So when you diabetes now on your cry, and find tenefi keke, make sure that you are getting the right treatment for Crohn's because so one to me I treat a chrono aggressively. Na ye worse you be trying see all the time. They say I think I have that thing. 80% of non-traumatic amputation, of them are diabetics, which is a very high number. Recurrent infection. I mean, one who say, maybe our diabetes, or why now when you gum disease, or why when you urinary tract infection. And no, remember who say, that is not. It can be a sign. There are so many signs. These signs doesn't mean say you're going to have all of them. It be create Crohn too. It be create infection, but Johnson tentem no any common ebedo ne to common ebedo no will show. Now, obinya diabetes a kwan ben so ana you treating no. Depending on the type of diabetes that you have. And a doctor now bet me determine the type of treatment obinya. Say type 1 would the be insulin. Insulin, you different types. Your short acting, intermediate, and long acting. Obi na, especially type 1 for no. Omudi is so severe say they put them on an insulin pump. And pump no will determine say sugar cough from pet, then no a money be. Hold on. Say the sugar cost repair, then no a money insulin be na manaba form. Type 1 for no be or the way almost sugar necessity no say nya pumper a bit kum. Before they determine that, and maybe I'm use other ways to control your sugar and you're successful, then normal pump no. You were in Roswa, you take it orally. Metformin, ne other medication, glipizide, you can take orally to control sugar. That is usually for more type 2. No? As I said, type 1 there, we hear insulin for the rest of your life. But the diet, a can't treatment. No? And I know, say, let me put it this way. It doesn't matter how much you exercise. You can't cheat your way. Say, okay, I exercise into me them PBR. Diabetes control, no, I would say about 80% or more what you eat. So what diabetes are. A drone would only do so much. So when we're drone now when the it's still not you are how body no. And I've talked about the diet. The order in which you eat is very important. What you eat is very important. Portion size is also very important. When it comes to portion size, doable, but you have to do it slowly. For most people, are only successful in controlling portion size. If I say, we don't to then what start 1.5. Oh, reducing the quantity of dokno na stew. It doesn't cruma stew or na fish. We increase it to make up. But so what you say, uni nasila sitting now we a teenager now did no but twice what this mwa. As I said, no brain diabetes and begin to gain weight in their 40s. That is when a lot of people develop type 2 diabetes. Exercise. And you much let's say when you lift weight, weight bearing exercise, a boy controlling blood sugar spikes even more than running and swimming, aerobics, no. Because we lift weight, or more lift weight, no, tell you. We lift weight, a chapa, you still feel the effect of weightlifting now, I know. Than Orania. So Orania, period now running, no, and shortly after, and the benefit of Emricatona would 2 years no, in controlling your sugar no, is there. But when you lift weight for a very long time, which man lift you weight 3 days now, your muscles are still like activated. And they are demanding the sugar. So the more your muscles demand the sugar, no, sugar no move from the blood vessels no, now cells no. Stay on your blood vessels now and a spiky sugar no. So weightlifting is the best. So when to me weightlifting, you want holding bet me be nantie, swimming, bicycle. And then I will also encourage say, if you really, really want to exercise, join a gym. Well, kakrebu on basement. A book crab swimming I mean you see it. But when I go to the gym and I see Kofo Medi 80 or my retired, Obu Okrana or bar or the worker in the beach na machine or bar bay exercise no what tenacity. We are not saying use worker no to go to the next machine. When you see people at that age, under normal circumstances, they will give up. Maybe 80. I mean, they are still exercising. And no one encourage you. And pimpy, I can't see any time. We have to make time. Exercise and diet, two medications are when you take them, there's a reason why I'm can't treatment in home. When you take them seriously, you can reverse type 2 diabetes, prevent becoming even pre-diabetic. Adeɛ baako nso a betumi aboa with treatment, stress. Anytime your stress level is high, spike your sugar. And you say, we will be at time you deal with stress, you have a job very stressful, and I say your lifestyle is very stressful. Time na spike your sugar. The more our sugar is spiking for a long time, eventually you're going to be diagnosed with diabetes. We are also need the risk factors, only family history. But because we're dealing with too much stress in it, ultimately develop diabetes. Sleep. Treatment, sleep in suka. If you said, if you get enough sleep, you eat less. So one tabibra, you have to eat to get the energy to stay up. Nobody eats when they are sleeping in their sleep. Sleeping also a bois nipeduano man recover. The more I did all the time, and even when it comes to the eduane part now, snacking all the time, in between meals all the time, you're overworking your pancreas, you're overworking your organs. Intermittent fasting is another good way you beat me to treat diabetes. You eat, you fast for 12 hours, whatever you can do, 12 hours. Make yourself within that 12 hours, so beat my 16 hours are perfect. When you do that, you reduce the workload on your pancreas, secreting insulin, now reduce the sugar spike. And we can also count carbohydrate. I think in the next slide, I'll be talking about glycemic index. We have to count carbohydrate. And then if you have a phone, and I say you have access to computer, so who be did a concrana, go. What is the glycemic index for Kenke? Oh yeah, I know yama. We buy research here. And then do her. I just did a few of them, and they pull it. I'm going to read them to you. Typical Ghanaian in Nuyane IED, the glycemic index. Okay. So, obi benya diabetes, especially type 2. Type 2 sometimes na ayana nipa ko no people odi aduane and glycemic index is very very high. Glycemic index measure how how quickly sugar no rise in your bloodstream. So aduane bi it can move from a scale near from 0 to 100. It can move from 0 to 90 within a very short time. For example, unum soda. Even if soda ni bi sugar will more than the others. Mountain Dew, Fanta. Sugar level is very, very high. Especially when you drink soda on an empty stomach. That's the worst thing you can do to yourself. Because I say system no aduane bi anim. It gives you energy. Somehow, soda. A come to set then what the soda back. Within a short time amount that kind of energy. Because I spike sugar within a very short time period. Until the higher the glycemic index, the higher the probability say we consume that kind of foods all the time can become diabetic. Until this is something that you can Google and know the glycemic index of aduane awudi. Low one, releasing slowly. Medium one, releasing at a moderate pace. And a high one, rising rapidly. Scale no 0 to 55 year low, medium year 56 to 69, high 70 to 100. Now, chart way shows glycemic index of a nnuane bebree. The low, no, you have to eat more of the low, no, 55 or less. You limit quantity of the medium, no. Then you avoid high one, no, as much as possible. White bread, candy, cakes, cooking, sweetened yogurt, donuts, sani manamano. Tini bebra. Bet me the yare na bro. Say yefa typical Ghana aduane a. Nga kenke glycemic index is 41, which is a little bit on the low side. That doesn't mean say low nintino. You are still consuming a lot of it. Almost say locally pounded fufu, 55. Konkonte, surprisingly, konkonte is 18. So we are diabetes not the konkonte, which means boy. But once again, the fact that they say konkonte is superfood, that doesn't mean say so we konkonte kakrakasi. Eating in moderation is also the key to controlling sa yadewin. So Chusafi is 69. Bankuye, I don't know why Bankuni Dokunie cousins and Bankuye 73 and Dokunie 41. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. And see, another way glycemic index, for example, where say me talking about how a fruit crab it diabetes if you consume too much fruit, especially say we are in a smoothie. So woody fruit by itself, it takes a long time as I digest it. When a smoothie, spike sugar no quickly. You find say we use pineapple, abrepa, kodu, abrepa, watermelon, abrepa. Oh, me a smoothie. I'm eating healthy. No, you're not. You think you are eating healthy, but it's hard we know a bit may lead to diabetes for you. It is a kodu crown ye be there. A man the abre. Eat it. It's a good source. I'm not saying don't eat fruits and eat them, but making sure say embry bebre. Apple be the same be. Fruit be a edepia and any glycemic index near high. And if you consume too much of fruit in this a bit might cause problems for you. Acquire ben so and a bit may reduce glycemic index in Adriani. Because we have to find a way to reduce it. Eat less of the carbohydrate. Choose the low glycemic index foods, any medium one. Eat more of that. Avoid or limit intake of high glycemic index foods, It is said, now be there. Some time ago, my sister Joe some presentation be. There's a plate, the omoton. It tells you quantity of vegetables are SOUC. It almost has to be half of the plate. And the protein also, carbohydrate has to be very less. So when you do that, you are reducing the glycemic index. When you bake aduane versus frying them, you are reducing the glycemic index. One ma koko na ambre peche ansa ada kelewele a. Kelewele de but say anye koko na ambre bebre a won't be fanye kelewele enye yi. It is a kelewele yo de bebre a. Kelewele glycemic index no ye kese pa. But once again, say woody say aduane no na enye anu nko na woody with other foods together which has more protein in it. For example, obi betime the kelewele by itself. But obi the kelewele no the nkache ka ho a. Nkache has fat and protein. And the end spike ni sugar no. Versus obi the kelewele ni nko a. Say them we can match say. Or say protein, lean protein sources. Say fish now be use what? Don't fry it. Minimize frying fish. Also fry the more I fry now adding more calories to it. Bake it. Chicken, take off the skin. I've talked about it already. Vinegar, ginger, no nasifonia, a boy reduce glycemic index. Me use whole grains versus refined carbohydrate. Of course, store now. We say pan on much go. A chrome pan the quality of the bread and it determines the price. Pan only be the same pan size na $5. Almost 12 grain. And a white bread. we have to avoid white bread because the glycemic index is very high. And I say, we depend on cry and depend on by itself. I don't think say, sabi tamani organ and na ye ni be any yetimi depend on raw. But I had no more wait me the salad a shame. Oh, wait me the peanut butter. I am. Oh, yes, I know money in here. Reduce glycemic index. Until once again, the way you eat, no crab it when you're diabetes. What you eat, the order you eat, this is very important. The better na your boy whole buying from diabetes. Maintain a healthy weight. Eat a balanced diet, sugary stuff, physical activities. I know more we near medical bosso. Soda. Worse. What diabetes are monitor your sugar frequently. Only diabetes are making sure say you do a checkup. Say early detection of yariano can lead to prevention. So can lead to cure. You can say so won't develop complications. No, but so one prevent one to me detecting it early through screening. Na oboko akoye with A1C yes with A1C 13 and do saa time no na cause damage bebree. This is pretty much the same previous slides, but so when you have diabetes no 1 to 2 years, these are the complications that you can beat me about. Diarrhea back or no, you can have more. This is not even the list of all the complications. This is some of the complications that you can get from diabetes. So 1 to 2 years. It may cause a stroke. Diabetes may cause a stroke. It may cause a heart attack, heart problems. It may cause cataract, glaucoma, retinopathy. It may more when you fra. Before be brave or diabetes or money fra. Ghana is here, I say, I've been for the yom. But no one say be a diabetes, no one in a man in fra. A cause of kidney. The number one cause of kidney problems, uncontrolled diabetes. You don't want to go there. That is something that we're going to talk about next time. Food damage, medical talking about a chrono, I bet you why, a bit me lead them a trap on nine. And I damage your nerves and also. See, so board diabetes are do maybe a chrono and a cry, I did tina. I did try on tip because nerves in are damaged. In the people who's on net chrono are advancing. Chrono I can see, but no whom possess crying. We've talked about this. Avoiding all these things are maintaining a target blood sugar, blood pressure, making sure say your lipids, making sure say you see your eye doctor. And no many people are insurance, and I'm say the vision year 2020 to me reading no. If you call vision insurance, on call eye doctor. Now we are fortunate we live in a country that see these resources are there. Let's take advantage of them. If you say yare no advance to certain stage, you can't reverse it. But who in terma which me abo ho ban. Talked about stress. I've talked about avoid soda drinks. I've talked about all this, making sure that you see your doctor. If there are numbers, I will encourage everybody to know. Blood pressure numbers, diabetes numbers. So no more anyway say now maintaining the wall, I better prevent it. Yari be brave. So when you baseline a cost bones are cost. But so when you be that crowd better you who be ultimately who pay. Sometimes when you have diabetes, you might need a dietitian who will draw a diet plan for you. Because obi yeah a one or no doesn't mean it's going to help you too. Your general ones, but obey individualized care plan for you. Now, wow, you need your family to help you. If you now diabetes, normally be over as ultimately so. And Kobe, you can have one more. All right, diabetes is a lifelong journey, a chronic disease. Unya, you probably going to live with it, but it can be reversed at the same time. Even though a chronic disease, especially lower type 2 and as a pre-diabetic, it can be reversed. Lifestyle changes can help with everything. Early intervention, I've already talked about that part. All right, USA, right to me, as of last year, the Padudua or diabetes is 38 million, more than the whole population of Ghana. Bebree so wɔ pre-diabetic and some more diabetes some more diabetes. The number in US, the number near 13.7. Ghana number near a little bit lower because of our lifestyle. We do a lot of physical activities. We work a lot. The diabetes rate near lower in Ghana than USA. And this information gives you statistics of NIPA by race or more diabetes. And Kroda Semana Mekano, 80% of non-traumatic limb amputations are diabetic for. They're very important. Since the BCA say, might take a few questions now. They are baby, so be a question. Yeah. And as a contribution, Ada Pachawaninko. When you're testing out, we starting your symptoms now, me kind, come down tentem, Ujunson tentem, Woody now phone. So, my indicator, you might have diabetes. That doesn't mean that you have it. You have to go and get tested. Who are there? Come, I feel why I didn't know to me when I blurry. That is a affect vision or why now when I see I tingling cry can it easy. Anya tata I titi so that is say when that happens now, and that is a nerve damage has started taking place. So those are the things I remember who say, oh, in your diabetes, you have to see your doctor and get checked. Mm-hmm. 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 Uh,
Rice no. Brown rice na ɛyɛ de papa deɛ but as ɛno no yɛ ɛno no glass making index no ɛwɔ fam kakra ɛna ɛno nso yɛ nutritious sɛn white rice no nti as a church no say
any individually, not the church in because church you did once a week. And then yet week be a grand eat white rice. So individually, there are ways with me, even if you decide to be the white rice, you don't have to eat a huge amount of it. Kakrebi, why a cabbage stew, and I say contemporary stew, you have your protein source. Now, you can still enjoy those kinds of foods. The fact that say, whoa, we at risk now, that's you still have to eat to get energy to survive, right? But you have to limit the quantity, no? Any the other back who are reduce. I'm gonna more balanced diet, and reduce glycemic index, you know. Oh, the other in the pajana surface. We are not.
for sugar, but can't sleep any stress and also the GI saying.
Well, well, sleeping in it, stress, any glycemic index. But if you can sleep more, sleep is the best medicine a doctor can prescribe for you. Because maybe a human night, when you stay up all night, I do baby semi will feel 5 o'clock we are mini debut. But that make you in the course of the night and I will eat something. Man call Jumana me that the entire period that I'm fasting whilst I'm sleeping. I'm not eating more. See, the more you stay up, the more you eat, the more you snack. You need that energy to be able to stay up. And our stress and also we have to find ways to reduce our stress. Stress is in the buy. So we have to find ways to reduce our stress. Sustain rest for a long period of time, And what a bit when you diabetes. It be quite not the DO. But because of stress level, time be our stress level high, And what cry. Is there any glycemic index? Yes, Pastor.
Then I'm Busan say glycemic index no. So metia say as ya ma ye hu say aduane a ye di no how quicker sugar no get into your blood and the money yes sir.
Correct.
Okay. It is aduane no bi wo ho na index no high cry na say ye the nyoma bi nso a reduce no say would the white rice or the green leaves no bebre ni stew any protein guswa etimi reduce no how quick a bed moja sugar no be call blood and now say the order would no say bia obedi carry leaves no na where the mono ni stew
where the protein
no na where the way na eno no betime reduce no say that no say between 75 to 80,
which is the high, which is the high end.
It is how the normal way come one. It may reduce glycemic index now say no matter what you do.
Glycemic index in there are the same, but and I'm saying you are not eating it by itself, no. Now all the other things I can't hold into, they are competing for absorption. The way you absorb into our system. Let's spike our sugar and say, if I see what the moon by itself and one moon by itself, one factory and come. And one moon away, the end product in here carbohydrate. It's carbohydrate, a bar system no man, there's 2 sugar. No, that's making that's near high already. But protein beyond count, fat beyond count, vegetables beyond count. Until you combine vegetables, any protein, any fat in the count. It reduces the rate at which your sugar will spike, Does that make sense? Anything important pass obey odi sano man be kan. This is our job contribution man in fan kan.
How quickly aduane no be digest na body no absorb. Into say high glycemic index, it means be digest in tem. Into and be call moja ni muntem, be absorb ntem, and it will stay in the blood. Into so all the niamana all kana keka ho a, it slows down the digestion. Into aduane a obedi a be to ne bo a digesting. It means a kakra, a release kakra. Into stay muche. Body ne absorb so quickly, emma wo where you ne spike it, the sugar ne and spike it.
And even to add to that, we have to incorporate a lot of fiber. So if you incorporate a lot of fiber in your diet,
yeah, media ne ye mienu. Dey na church ye betumi aye dey aboa ye ho ye ho. Birthday bia drink ye nungu ye mu wa kire ha no. Enye. Birthday bia ofie dey nyam ofie dey me ma oba me ka asore ha. Birthday bia nkora nkidom kese bi nu nyansan nan ya so dey ba. Then a church bit my no no ya one. Na to the bia ade na fruit na brebe no ya na ekofa asemba no. Those no na de but to bia na bia nim na ne nim. Because me wo England na me kwa adwuma na me de me kwadu fifi kwa ma cheme nkate. Me adwuma kitchen me no BMW ona me adwuma. Me ba na me kwadu ni ho na me nkate nda ho. Na mbuza sa na fa me kwadu no. Na mko yi kwadu bi grip pa breme. So mo de not to trash him. Am so mo chem trash kro. No mo chem na me ye ntima ko yima de. Tele ma chechire ho. Do de ma me ntimi di. Den o se na ye. Me de no ko fie ko yi de da yinum trash ni musa di ma de because na ma chechire ho. O se abre do me di a emmoa me. Ba me so ni me se me di ni nka chere be boa me. Oh chere bia na ye ade bia ye nim kakra fa ho no. Me de me concern ye church. Ye ko committee a ko drink ye ti what ya mai be bua no musa anti church no. Aha, Prince of Peace. Ye ntimi nye bibia mfa ho as a church. Ye de nye so for as church no. Ye ntimi nye hwe mfa ho. Me das.
So as a church, this is what we can do. I think that I saw baby and himself, especially soda, one caffeine room to say Coca-Cola. No, we're not supposed to bring it here. Two, with education that we've provided, you have to control how much are you giving it out. Untumi ma kolabako environment pop for because ebunti emwa. We encourage you cry say you can have with me a smoothie and I say smooth fruit juice using low glycemic index fruits and only a healthier option than say what the pop pepper. So that I've already told you, don't drink your sugars. It's the worst thing you can do to yourself. And that's how you can do it. And, as far as Kodunin, is concerned, we all didn't know. We had to learn this to know, say, the fruit are bra and also bit mama diabetes. Even though the benefits in the fruit, vitamins, minerals, you're going to get it. But you can still end up getting diabetes because you are consuming too much of it. And she said, okay, and
your mom 2 minutes.
Me de media ne bana me de odo de na twato. Test no ho. Ye mu bebre so wa adwene bi se eni ehu a enye tan to da bi a ukowura ho no ba wi afi na ide o stress no krasa aye kese enu ti na ma ye mu bebre ye nta nko because work fine we be here okay ukowura ho ko test ba afi. Yes, yeah, this was
this is how I'm going to answer this. Nipa kakra bi in the whoop because someone need too much. So, ubia nwu especially put to pro recompense. Ubia nwu like that just say our body no has a lot of ways a boy who buy from yari wabi brain is man. But I'm telling you, most diseases, cancer, diabetes, whatever, HIV, whatever, early detection and early intervention is the key to recovery. One who in term, for example, diabetes, one who in term, why pre-diabetic, why who see Sabe about A1C no. I do. So me call them here A1C. I cost kakra. I watch what I eat. A boy and cocoa. I increase the number of times that I exercise as much as possible. But so one who now be corner A1C at 13 na. And do hono. Maybe I ate 13 for maybe 11, 12 no for a very long time. and do not cause some damage. If you have an A1C of 13, 14 now this is the first time you are hearing about it now you're late. Nti better say you be call na doctor for na my results na ehunu nan na ya hwe yi ame ho atoye dan say yen kokra. Last question from ma.
Adam Pacho. Utro sweet potato ewo no so na me pese wo se yesi yeni. Eno no se eno no ye frem enti ye di a ebeboa yan.
Yes. I don't know why sweet potato tastes sweet, but it has a low glycemic index. Maybe it has more fiber in it than regular potato. So,
because one say ye pa
yes. And I'm can say ABR, the fiber content, higher than regular potato. There are other things one. I think potato would now the skin they can want. Better than so we do without the skin.
Oh, okay.
Because skin contains a lot of fiber too. And see, and normally be they've done research and who say obidi potato near obidi potato near checking the sugar within an hour a lower than so be regular potato. Obidi sweet potato.
Sister
Becky Becca.
And you know, diabetes here, yarea say, ye kase choose beer out of your reigning in a beer and cow choose diabetes because a beer is preventable. O cornea cultural number na say be a pre-diabetic. Ubit me and number be brea, ubit me stop from becoming full-blown diabetes. A yarea. Once it becomes full-blown diabetes, you do not want to live with that. Now, working in a hospital and treating people, you know how devastating it is. The damage it can do from your head to toe. And yeah, say, if you want someone, second say, be our baby say what? It's from head to toe. It bet damage you. Into mama, I know say, be yes, so. That kind I say now I didn't see stress and lack of sleep,
The glycemic index.
Okay. Indirectly, it's very high because lack of sleep, what happens? You stay up eating, you gain weight, that increase your risk for becoming diabetes. Stress, you are stressed out, you end up eating, especially EMA. I say you end up gaining weight, and that increases your glycemic index. Obesity highly associated with diabetes. It's me pa mo chow say yare bia ye kase would you choose between bia we choose diabetes. If you say a highly preventable, once you get it, you can use diet and exercise to control it. Unfortunately, say yare we in the kume mame because time I hu ye no na asay ni kidneys nyina. Enti mama yen hwe say yare we ye pa. I have some sources be on ma ebi I bet me show about nuane bebre a udia empo diabetes a ebetimi aboa se de be betimi control no aduane bi ti se ayi okra okra yeah okra you krom you kind of okra the main the main treatment behind diabetes is to increase your fiber intake. When you have fiber in your body, what it does is it pulls the sugar out of the bloodstream. Diabetes, you know, sugar or bloodstream. Mesufatu nkwanum blending nanom enye ba akupe blend the okra. So obi a wonya diabetes just manum blend the okra.
Is it cooked or raw?
When it comes to that point now you will do it. It's me pamocho. Mama yeah.
Okay.
Ubetimi in raw. Yeah, ubetimi in raw. Ebi no mo wi ni sa o. Ebi no mo keka na sa. Nyadoa say sa ne mani nyina ubetimi dey account diet ho. It's more the mama taking it serious pa because you do not want to be so what me fear me kuno fa no oboni save gen you know already. Yeah, it's in especially say our family history aboma hwe ni pa because diabetes here area Umpese obeye full blown diabetes. Ebe se unipedia. Ebi no yetwetwa bi no mo nan nani asɛe na ebeduru ba bi ne bɛka kyerɛ sɛ wontimi ni aduane a wo pɛsɛ wodi pa na nka wo hwɛ a ebi a beginning no nka wo yɛ bibi ka to a deɛ what do you say? Oh, you okay?
Oh yeah, fine. I need your help.
Say, deɛ ne sɛ ekuro na tu ekuro na engu da ɛna yɛn twa edidi mu aba eti ɛwɔ si etwa baabi sɛ de bɛyɛ na ya wɔ sɛ kuro no bɛwu sɛ yɛnya twa wie a ɔn sɛ adeɛ no diabetes yɛn ne sɛ ɛdɔnso wɔ nipadua ni mu a ɛma wo body no ɛsikyire no ɛma wo blood vessels nye so thick sɛ ɛkyinkyim no eti na blood supply no enkɔ na anim eti na kuro na ada hɔ na ntimi nguda no eti si yɛntwa ebedi dia baa because ebeduru baabi no wanhwɛ ya na enti o sɛ yɛtwa na yɛboa o eti we yɛbɛto aso why madamase
Damasipa, thank you. Thank you for the contribution and all the questions. Yansa kane no. Bijidi say yesua bibi na de besua no so yesua no ye fanye adwuma. Na when we have information like this in Swa, let's share it. So obi ho ha no nim ye ni ani nim e fa sem na mpekudu pa but do baby no maybe why so timiti so even kodu kra before we finish kodu kra be timedi e fa say why oatmeal instead of saying the sugar begum no oatmeal you should kodu have no twa na nketenkete na no your source of sugar and then you better than so be you should raw sugar so the masipa ye dey Dabi ye ntua wako no de ni ayesu betime di ba yesa oteso in moderation. Bam chomo me mompaye. Osino ho nyame samre umada wase. Sa yo pe ne abechechen efa siche yare ho. Ija ni padua no sorry fie. As human beings, we have a huge responsibility to take good care of our human body. Na mpempe no ya na no mebi ho ayenim. Na wadaroma wacheche. Yes, and said the wacheche yemfanye adwuma. Na fin so emi selfish with the information that we have. Let's share it with our friends and loved ones. It's a healthy individual make healthy family. A healthy family makes a healthy community. A healthy community makes a healthy town. A healthy town makes a healthy city. A healthy city makes a healthy country. And it has to start from the individual. The air can say share the individually. Ni intimi share yakono so. Itimi abwa ami in a very healthy way was I see so. Mra yedi programme be we and mra so say kwa ji entertain fe ni akodu fi asumde mo de monti amen.